All right, everyone, it is time for a big one. This right here is my review of The Batman, directed by Matt Reeves, and of course starring Robert Pattinson as the title character. The movie follows Batman as he tries to track down Paul Dano's Riddler, and that mission sees him cross paths with characters like Zoë Kravitz as Selina Kyle and Colin Farrell as the Penguin. That description was extremely thin. I usually like going further than that, but I want to keep well clear of spoilers on this one, so this is a safe space for everyone. But broadly, I will tell you that I really dug this story and also the structure of it. Now, this next comment I know is going to irk some out there because running time seems to have that effect, but the running time of a movie is a very valid point of criticism, and The Batman has to sustain a whole 3 hours, which isn't easy. And admittedly, I was exhausted at the end of this movie. It is a very heavy film with a good deal of tension, a lot of key players to keep track of, and there's a mystery unfolding that forces you to engage and really stay on your toes. On one viewing, I enjoyed that ride quite a bit, and I feel pretty confident in saying that Batman does all of that very, very well. But again, 3 hours worth of storytelling is a lot to take in on one viewing, and as many of you know, I genuinely do enjoy examining and even obsessing over the little details, so just wanted to throw out that I'm very eager to see this movie again just to make sure everything lines up as well as I suspect that it does. But again, this is a review on one viewing, and I think this 3-hour film plays quite well for a whole bunch of reasons, and I'll start with that story structure. The mystery felt like it played out in very well-defined smaller chapters, and I think that works especially well because, yes, they build on each other, but also because it makes the movie very easily digestible, and also because those smaller stories within the story feel remarkably full all on their own. There was just something about them where even if a particular victim of the Riddler only had a teeny tiny amount of screen time, they still felt like a real person within this world to me. And, often with movies, I do very much enjoy the feeling when no matter the amount of screen time a character gets, I wind up believing that they have history and also a life beyond the events of the particular film that they're in. And that felt very true of a lot of the characters here. And I do think something like that partially comes from the success of the script, but maybe even more so from the actors bringing these roles to life, especially the smaller ones. Like Peter Sarsgaard, for example. That character and that part of the movie, to me, very clearly benefited from having an extremely talented, seasoned pro in that part. So yes, I very much liked these stories within the story, but the other standout quality of this script is how they all come together to function as a very powerful arc for Bruce Wayne. Bruce is not the same person at the end of this movie as he was at the beginning of it, and yes, that should almost always be a goal in a film, but I feel like it's an especially important and big accomplishment here because we've seen Batman movies before, and this one really does rock an arc that feels very fresh compared to those other films, but also very specific to Robert Pattinson's interpretation of the character. I was really struck by how he is impacted by the events of this film and also the conclusions that he comes to because of them. And that's also something that's making me even more excited for future Batman movies from Reeves and Pattinson because it just signals so much more room to continue to grow, meaningful room too. There's something about this movie's arc for the character that feels both very deeply personal for Bruce himself, but then it also carries such great weight throughout Gotham and even beyond it. And I think that has a lot to do with how well the ripple effect is structured within the story. And also the fact that I do find that Bruce's experience had some universal qualities to it. Moving on to Kravitz's Catwoman now. She does have a similar feel to her journey, but maybe not to the same extent. But anyway, she's just very good at justifying every choice the character makes in the movie, which is especially important for the more impulsive ones. I also really dug her chemistry with Pattinson. Again, their dynamic feels so specific to Pattinson's Batman and Kravitz's Catwoman, and I really appreciated how they influenced each other as people and that it was more than just how they pushed the overall mission forward. And really, that's something that the movie is quite good at across the board with all of its characters. In some films, I find that the personal elements and growth can feel detached from the big fight or the main mission, and that's very much not the case here, and the film is far stronger because of it. One more cast chemistry note here, because I also absolutely loved the dynamic between Pattinson and Jeffrey Wright as Jim Gordon. This right here is a dark, dangerous narrative, so having an ally for Batman with such pure intentions was, I don't know, it was just extremely needed and very satisfying to me. And maybe that's because Paul Dano's Riddler in this movie is just so damn scary. A lot of you know how much I love the horror genre, and this just felt like a whole lot of the Riddler orchestrating his own horror movie plot, and I couldn't get enough of it. Dano is unhinged to the max in this role. His attacks are brutal, and the puzzles he leaves behind genuinely encourage you to engage and lean in more. It's kind of like they've got the same effect on the viewer as they are intended to have on Batman within the film. You just get drawn further and further into his operation, and you may think you have the necessary information to get the upper hand at times, but Riddler also feels like he's everywhere and can do anything at any time. And I guess that could bring me to my favorite part of this new Batman movie, and it's the visuals. There is one particular shot of Riddler, it must have been less than 10 minutes into the film, that actually made me say, like, that's awesome, out loud in the theater. And I wouldn't be surprised if many of you can pinpoint this particular shot when you see the film. But even beyond that, Greg Fraser delivers an expertly captured movie here. I loved the color palette, the way the neon lights and the city street lights really pop. The framing is exceptional, enhancing some of the biggest beats in the film, while also delivering visuals that are just plain old, but pretty and even magical to look at. I was very, very enthusiastic about the work he delivered in Dune, and I'm rooting for him to win that Academy Award. But I think I actually might be even more excited about the work he delivers here in The Batman. I also really need to applaud the stunts team here, along with Fraser and editor William Hoy and Tyler Nelson's work, because this right here is just my type of action. The choreography is vicious and it's visceral, where you could practically feel the punches land, and then Fraser captures it all so beautifully, and Hoy and Nelson know exactly when cuts are necessary to, yes, keep the energy up, to highlight key character beats within those fights, but then they also know how to make sure that it feels real and not over-edited. I love those qualities in this movie. All right, score time. I am giving The Batman 4.5 Deweys out of 5 on the Dewey Decimovie scale. Again, this was a lot of movie, and I am very, very eager for another watch, but at this point, I'm also very into the film, and especially excited to say that it felt like a worthwhile new big screen interpretation of Batman. You know, every now and then a line of dialogue doesn't feel quite natural, and I think I felt that most when Batman, Gordon, and some of the other characters would be talking about the clues Riddler left behind, like, you know, where reading a card out loud or stating a discovery just didn't feel like something someone would necessarily do in real life, but might have been necessary for the camera. But that's a blip on the radar type of thing there. Reeves had a vision for this character. He assembled an exceptional ensemble and a team of creatives who would help him bring this vision to life. Yes, I always want more original stories out there, but it is also mighty exciting and quite the creative achievement to see a team take an iconic character we've seen on screen quite a bit and do something so extremely refreshing and meaningful with him. I really dug this movie. I want to know what you think of The Batman when you see it. I know you guys are going to let me know. So, when the time comes, do hit that comment section below. Share your own thoughts on The Batman right there. This video review is getting a very special Patreon shout out because there was only one person who I was reaching out to offer this one to, and it's Billy. Billy, I know you are a massive DC fan, and I couldn't wait to review this in general, but specifically for you, my friend. So I hope you enjoyed the review. I hope you enjoyed the movie, and big thanks for being a longtime supporter. It means the world to me. Thanks to everybody out there for watching this review. Stay tuned. More on the way very, very soon.